Good morning and welcome to News Conference Extra, a special segment of Today in LA Weekend. It is the driver of the Southern California economy, the Los Angeles Long Beach harbor. And there have been problems over the past several years. Remember that supply chain issue. And most recently, difficulty with the unions that have been demanding a new contract. Joining us now is Seroka, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles. So you have good news this past week, and that is that the labor dispute, which looked like it was going to come down hard on the ports, both ports, has been settled. Do I have that right?
That's right, and good to see you, Conan, just in the nick of time as well. These 22,000 dock workers covering 29 ports, including the two here in Los Angeles and Long Beach, were due to get this contract on 13 months of negotiations. Frustration started to build. Some folks got a little upset, but it was the activity and really carrying it over the goal line was our acting U.S. Labor Secretary, Julie Su, who spent 3 days on the ground in San Francisco doing shuttle diplomacy, bringing the sides together and making sure we got this tentative agreement done.
Is this about working conditions, money, or is it about AI and the automation of so many jobs there?
That's the key. And, you know, money. These folks on the dock worker side were out on the job 6 days a week on average during that COVID surge of cargo that we all saw here in Southern California. They kept the American economy moving when we really were uncertain about our future. And at the same time, robotics, automation, that technology is moving faster than ever before. We simply cannot leave the worker behind. So those are the two big pieces, wage and robotics, and we finally got to the finish line.
Right, but you're competing against other ports that are going heavy into robotics.
Not necessarily, Conan. Of the 360 ports around the world, only about 5% have some semblance of robotics. Here in Southern California, across the 12 marine terminals, 3 have already implemented some semblance of automation, and a 4th has announced it. So we're ahead of the curve in this area. But again, it's the combination of the skilled workforce and being able to process more and more cargo through efficiencies that's going to make this a better port of choice.
Are you losing business?
Absolutely we are. It's my estimation that about 15% of our normal lift during this negotiation went to the East and Gulf Coast ports. But this is not something new. It's a trend that's been happening over 20 years. In 2002, about 80% of the Trans-Pacific cargo moved via West Coast ports. Today, it's 56%. We've got to go all out to reverse that trend now that the contract is going to be in place.
How do you do that?
It started this week. I was in Tacoma, Washington at the largest agriculture conference led by Peter Friedman and AgTC, talking to their 450 members that were in the city. And it's just about restoring confidence, sharing that stability in what the new contract will bring, and processing this cargo better, more efficiently than ever before. And it's about building the infrastructure. Again, the infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the California budget, all meant to be focused on these ports. When we had those 109 ships at anchor, we can't let folks forget what that felt like. We've got to drive more money here.
Right. Are you going to get your share of that pot? I mean, part of the concern is the environmental concern, the amount of pollution that comes out of the port, the number of trucks that idle there. When are we going to see some change?
Yeah, there's two pieces here. First off, from the infrastructure law, about 15% of the appropriations have gone to West Coast ports, but West Coast ports collectively move about 40% of the nation's cargo. We just had former New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu here at the port yesterday. He's the president's top infrastructure advisor. We continue to send messaging to the mayor as well as Secretary Buttigieg at the Department of Transportation that we've got to drive more of that discretionary funding here. Second, on the pollution side, we've reduced diesel particulate matter by 90% here at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Now, our next huge milestone is to go to zero emissions, and not net zero, zero tailpipe emissions on the equipment that moves the cargo and those heavy-duty trucks. We're still in the early days of that technology, and it's quite expensive, but our resolve has never been greater. We're going to keep working with the manufacturing and private sectors to drive this home.
What is your biggest worry?
I run to work every day because this port is, as you said in your opening, an economic engine, and it means jobs. For every 5 containers we move, this port creates a new job. We've got to continue pushing to elevate that market share, driving as much cargo through here creating those efficiencies, which get people to work in good middle-class jobs.
And finally, you alluded to this, but once again, for clarity, this contract will be ratified when?
History has shown that this process will take 2 to 3 months. First, the delegates from the ILWU will join together and they'll go through the details of this agreement. They'll then socialize it across their 29 ports to the local leadership and then put a vote out to the rank and file. We'll see something by the end of summer.
Gene Seroka is the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles. Congratulations on the deal and good luck.